one. Go!
Hey, welcome back to round one. You know what time it is. It's CPT 2020 time. You know, every week we are here with the pre-game show. Myself, Logan, Sama, and F-Words. I hope you are well. I hope you are ready for some incredible action. We take you across the globe in the Capcom Pro Tour. Last week, it was the east coast of North America. The week before that, it was the east side of Europe and the Middle East. This time, it's Southeast Asia. I'm getting a big Eastern theme here. Hopefully we'll bring it back to the West real soon. But it is a very exciting competition. A region that doesn't get a huge amount of exposure just from the fact of the low number of players that are able to travel from the region. Of course, we all know about Cien.
Absolutely.
Of course, we will speak to Cien and hear what he has to say and talk a little bit about all the incredible stuff. If you watched Fighting Words midweek, you'd have seen an extended interview with him talking about his incredible Versus community online event and all the cool stuff that he has done personally to drive that community forward.
For such a long time as well.
Exactly. Since he's a young player, obviously we got to meet him. How old was he? Like 16? When he started coming to DreamHack?
When he was 16 at DreamHack, yeah.
Playing Dalsim.
A KOF player transitioning to Street Fighter.
Incredible.
And making it all the way to the grand finals.
Yeah.
His first tournament.
Went on to win EVO with Gen, and now he's just an ever-present at Capcom Cup pretty much every year, whether he gets in early or whether he gets in by the skin of his teeth. He seems to be ever-present. There are other players in the region, but definitely not of high profile. And we're going to talk about whether the expectation on him to win, because he is so dominant in the region. He is so more well-known than anyone else in the region. It's almost like we're going into this tournament, like him qualifying is almost a given.
It's expected. And it would be a humongous upset if Shen did not qualify. And that's no disrespect to the players there. He just has that level of caliber, that level of history, that level of consistency. He's that good. And when the chips are down, he always seems to pull it out. Like last year, we thought this guy weren't going to make it. Turns up, wins some of his demon matches to get a really good run in a SEA major and pulls it all out. So this is someone who we strongly expect, considering the competition in the region and their history, their exposure to this high-level kind of competition, Shen has to win this. But you're right. Maybe that could be the downfall, that expectation. We'll see. Only time will tell, guys. Moments away now. Before that actually kicks off.
That's right. The top 16 will be coming to you at the top of the hour. We are going to be running through some of these brackets, looking at our predictions, featuring and highlighting some of the players in the region. Of course, it's not just Singapore. We've got Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, and the Philippines, all in this SE Asia region. But we have spoken a lot about Cien. Let's see what Cien has to say for himself in this very short interview and look at some of his highlight clips from his storied career.
I think for CPT Online, the biggest difference is the connection issue. Our region is actually really not so bad, compared to other regions. The only problem in our region is probably Philippines, which both of us don't have good connections to each other. So the preparation will more be playing 3 to 5 bar rank matches instead of the standardized 5 bar to prepare for it. At most of the situations, I would say that we do get to play similar to offline. I do think Street Fighter V is one of the best games to, play online compared to the previous Street Fighter, because of the rollback. It doesn't feel like a different game when you're playing online. When you actually play other games like Street Fighter 4, even Grand Blue, it feels like a different game. I don't think the strategy kind of changed as much.
And here we go, kunai time, but knows, can go in there and counter poke after that kunai startup. Is that enough?
I'm actually playing Ibuki and Seth. Originally, I already planned to have 2 characters, which is Fang and Ibuki, but after Seth is out, I kind of find out that I spend a lot of time playing it, and I think he's very strong as well, so I decided to go with these 2 characters. Yes, I think Seth is a top 5 character. I think the really perfect design of Seth is, I think he deals with the top tiers, like the strong characters, really well.
Yeah, that's a negative pull on us. Just press the meter button. Here's the beautiful acceleration. Her best setup. What's it going to be? Oh, that's disgusting. I think I was in front. Lord. Good lord.
Ibuki, I think she has been changed quite a lot. I think she has been kind of nerfed again. Compared to the whole cast of the top tier, I think she got hit one of the most. B-trigger being -4. You know, you have to hit confirm it. I think the biggest nerf for me, I personally felt, is jump EX kunai, back throw. You know, that is the few adding on to a lot of the characters that she has a hard time, has a health and stun buff. Because she mainly get in like a ninja, right? She want to stun the opponent, but all these characters adding health and stun makes it more difficult. And V skill 1 is a absolutely huge nerf. Like, she's still good though. She's still strong.
So under. There we
Alright,
go.
that's like
Clean it. See if he keeps the corner or he switches sides here. Oh my god!
What a choice. That should be the round. He's got the meter to kill here.
Good calculation of the stun.
I'm not someone who used to staying home. I almost go out every 1 or 2 days, you know, even to eat or something, to meet my friends. So this is quite a big change for me. I think there's a lot of mental stress, you know, for players, just because of not traveling and having to compete in the CPT online, especially for pro players. Sponsored players used to have 10, 15 premiums to actually have a shot, right? And now everybody is down to 2. The amount of pressure is more intense, but I think it changed a lot because the COVID has leveled up everybody. In fact, because I think a lot of people didn't realize was COVID actually leveled a lot of people, because most people stay at home, right? And they play a lot more, you know. So that is definitely gonna be one of the toughest competition that I'm gonna face. That was ever since I was sponsored by Singtel, which is one of the best local telecom company. Run community events, and I give up prize money, and then we get people now is play online because it's COVID, and then just to get the competition drive up. And a lot of people actually, I felt, gotten better because of this, because there's something to look forward to. So what I'm trying to do is to drive up the competitive spirit, and I think it's working out really well. And it's causing me a lot of trouble for the next CPT Online next week.
Quickly. Jump over. Oh, got the regular hit actually. Not even countering it on Mago.
Oh, look at this offense from Zen.
Yeah, this is a bad spot to be for Mago already. A lot of stun.
Ow.
Crush again. And the back throw for that. Man, Zen cleaned it up so fast with the perfect.
2 rounds. That was a really quick first.
I would definitely say when it comes to Young, it has to be bravery. And then another one I will add in is Oswald. You know, that's for sure. And Brandon. I think these are the top players in Leslie is this is the few add I want to add, but maybe Oswald will be the least traveled one. He's a warlord with a Laura, and I think in C region to get warlord is super difficult. My confidence is definitely not as high as previously. You know, I've been practicing a lot, and I have another character right now as well. I would say that it will all be up to the brackets, because we run versus weekly. I actually know that we always have a different winner, you know. So I know this is not gonna be like the Middle East region. I feel that the Middle East and the Europe region, one thing about it is the gap between Phantom, Angry Bird, and Big Bird and the rest of them is very huge. But I think in SEA, if you watch versus weekly for the last 4 months, it's almost been a different winner every week. This is a disaster. Yeah, for me. I'm not sure, but I hope I will be the one, and we will see how it actually runs out.
So there you have it, the big favourite for this tournament, Sien. He had a great year last year. He ended up 13th, but he didn't have a lot of wins, a lot of top 8 performances. Sorry, he had some wins, and in fact, he is the reigning online Southeast Asia champion. So
Thank heaven for that, because that's what put him in position to get there in the end.
Yeah,
that win was more important than he realised.
His global rank was 13th. He got a number of top 8s. He did really well at Canada Cup and EGX. 3rds there. 4th at Tiger Uppercut.
I think more importantly for me,
Second at
is
versus
where
Masters.
he didn't do well, right? I mean, was it 0-2 at versus fighting or something? It was a pretty bad run there, and a few others that put him in that situation where he's not used to being. He usually qualified by that point, right? It was like August or September, and he wasn't qualified. And he just when he needed to, he got those performances out. It's lovely hearing him talk there because he's got such a massive influence on the community. But he's kind of like the good guy and the bad guy because he does all this stuff for the community, but then he's the guy who's going to bust your head at the same time when you try to.
Well,
make a name for
he
yourself.
even said, like, you know, everyone's entering these tournaments every week and everyone's leveling up online because of COVID. They're indoors. They're just playing all the time, entering these tournaments. I'm just making it harder for me. I'm doing this great stuff for the community, but I'm making it more difficult for me to qualify. And he's had those late bursts. He hasn't last 2 years, because remember, he really came into form at Capcom Cup 2018. He was kind of coasting through. We weren't looking at Cien as a real challenger. But that V-Trigger 2, boy, at Capcom Cup 2018,
Game changer, baby.
put in some work for him and carried him to a really good finishing position. Then towards the end of the season 2019, he kind of came back into form as well. He made some good points about Ibuki that I'm sure you're going to agree with there, about the fact that she's basically been nerfed every season. She's got that great V-Skill 2, and then that got nerfed as well. What do you think about her as a character at the moment?
Honestly, I think she's still a ridiculously strong character. I think the nerfs that they've done to her over the seasons are. I mean, there's a couple of significant nerfs that people don't actually talk about. Like, for example, the back throw nerf.
Yeah,
that's actually a bigger nerf than, in my opinion, than crouch medium being -4. Because I mean, Fujimura and Shen don't really do crouch medium V-trigger activate. On block, they're hit confirming or they're setting it up with an EX for the plus range. So that wasn't the biggest nerf at high level. At lower level, of course, you know, scrubs like me are going to have a harder time, you know, busting your head with some of the nerfs. But when you look at like things like the back throw, that she gets pretty much nothing from that. If she tries to jump kunai or anything like that, it's like a guaranteed neutral jump punish for you. Even when she throws you like into the corner, she used to get a throw loop where she dashes in and throws you out of the corner. All gone. But then at the same time, she's still got one of the best forward throw mix-ups in the game. I mean, I don't know why they didn't nerf that. In the corner. Like, it's just, I meant to say in the corner, by the way. I don't understand why.
It's like instant. It's crazy.
Why is that still there?
Yeah.
But the back throw got nerfed. Really weird. But if I'm an Ibuki and you told me which one you're going to nerf, and I could choose, I'd say I'll go ahead and nerf the back throw.
That's similar to the nerfs on the V-Skill 1 as well. You're like, okay, what are you going to change about that? Oh, obviously the hurt box disappearing on startup. They're definitely going to change that.
Yeah, right?
That's what they're going to change. It's just easier to whiff punish.
Yeah, they increased the hurt box on ending, and a tiny nerf on startup. It still gets her out of a ton of strings. Maybe like Nikali can't do stomps, can do more stomps in your face, but in general, she's still very strong. She still has some of the best EX moves in the game, like grab
EX Kunai is still really good, but that got nerfed as well.
That got nerfed again. That will affect you more at the lower level, because at the high level you tend to space your jump EX Kunais better. If you miss-space it carelessly, it's now a guaranteed punish, which is a big deal. But guys like Shen and Fujimura and Shine very rarely miss-space their jump EX Kunai like that. So for me, the nerfs haven't really affected her too significantly. What has affected her is kind of like some of the bigger body characters or the newer characters in the game. I think Honda's going to be an interesting one as that matchup evolves. There's some trickier matchups as well, like Blanca is a bit interesting too. Not that she loses, but that these characters who are still in the game and some of them got a bit stronger could be more of a challenge for an uphill.
You mentioned big bodies. He also mentioned the universal kind of stun.
Good point. Yeah, he did say that.
You know, obviously people got stamina buffs as well, but Ibuki's a character that really wants to stun you. She had, I mean, that's what really made her competitive.
She's super momentum driven.
In a second season, right, where you know, you didn't really care if she hit you, but in season 2, all of a sudden her stun output's crazy. You got one guess for the stun, and she's doing big damage as well.
It's crazy how the smallest change can affect the strength of a character.
Yeah.
For me, the biggest buff in that season was just that she could link a medium into a medium.
Yeah.
I mean, that was such a big deal. Suddenly, the stun was like over half bar in one combo, you know, instead of doing target combo. And then you look at all these other nerfs; they're just not as significant as that buff, you know. So she's still very much there, but it'll be interesting to see some tournaments to judge this. Right? Could be premature. Now the tournaments are there.
I think it's really similar to kind of how you look at Carrion. You know, she's still really dangerous. She's still really dangerous.
I totally agree.
She's definitely been nerfed. They've taken away a lot of the tools that you would see, you know, players using at the highest level, because they're going to abuse the tools.
Yep.
But some of the tools that made her abusable by players that maybe were kind of just in the higher mid level of ability, it made her really abusable. Now, you know, you watch players like Punk and Phenom and Margot, and they're still making Karin look just as scary as she always was, because they have the ability to adjust. And players like Fujimura, Shine, and of course Xian have that ability to just adapt to the changes and just focus on the strengths. She's still got a great tool set, and it makes her able to compete at that level, and we'll see. He's got Seth as well.
Yeah, I was going to say he's got Seth too. If push comes to shove, he's got that Seth as well, which looks very solid.
They're both really strong. It's definitely an upgrade from Fang as a secondary. Anyway,
who's it? Is it Mono that we need to send that message out to? Shen's history in the show. Yeah. You can see what's happened since Shen picked up Ibuki. It's been a different ball game, hasn't it?
Absolutely. Moving on to the next feature, who's probably the second favorite. He's the second most well-known player anyway out of that region, Malaysian player Chuan, who we kind of started noticing, I'd say 2 or 3 years ago. 2018, I think I really started focusing on him and noticing he did.
Yeah, he showed up quite well in 2016 actually.
Okay.
But his real standout performances, and by the way, he didn't attend as much in 2016. He only attended like 4 or 5 events. Yeah. So that's why we probably started seeing him more. 2018 was when he really had a really great year, didn't he?
Well, that's one of the things we're going to really be talking about a lot, is the way that the players in this region generally stick to that region. They just don't have access to the sponsorship opportunities and the travel budget. So most of them are almost exclusively sticking to the Asian tournaments. Chuan went to Evo last year and got 17th, I think it was. He finished second to Xian in the online last year as well. So
yep, and he was the defending champion last year, right? Because the year before that, I'm pretty sure he won both the online tournaments in the region.
Good old Season 3 Guile.
Yes.
Let's hear what Chuan has to say. I do apologize in advance for the audio quality. We are doing these interviews remotely. You know what it is. It's COVID. Some of the players don't have the same stream setups. But hopefully you can take some insight from this. Let's hear from Chuan and look at some of his highlights.
Okay, I'm Chuan, living in Malaysia. Already in the fighting games since 4 years old. And this year I'm 34. So it's roughly 30 years of gaming experience. Because this period is COVID, we don't have any offline session, but we to join Xian's every week's Wednesday tournaments. Since February, I think Xian's already started to have the tournaments and provide to all the Southeast Asia scene players to join. Before COVID, maybe once in a month, I will join the offline session when certain players, they ask me to provide some trainings or guidance. Which is why these 2 months, actually I have been active for past 1 month because I feel the struggle when playing online.
I love Tokido just walking forward at the throw tech, right?
Yeah, we're just jab range. Anything will do
what?
it.
EX.
Oh boy.
What does he have? Meaty down jab. Fireball activate from Tokido. Real dangerous,
Wow.
but the throw.
It was friend's half sponsor. They would like to donate me to join certain tournaments. Like Southeast Asia is quite cheap. Maybe we share 50% of the cost. Because I live in Southeast Asia, so most of the Southeast Asia events I can join. I only focus on the Asia and then Asia only, because out of Asia for me it's quite heavy, the cost. To join Evo, actually everyone wants to be a champ. Maybe the first year then when I joined is like, because I won the MSI tournaments, and the sponsors gave me a free flight and then the free hotel to join Evo. Then second year, I also won the local tournament and can join it. And third year, I joined with the Alastair team. The sponsor me to go for the third year. And this year is the 4th year. During the Street Fighter 4 era, for the 8 years of Street Fighter 4, I couldn't fund myself to join the tournament. To travel from Malaysia to Evo is like $4,000 US. To go and back probably it will take me 5,000 plus US dollars, which is why I couldn't join during the Street Fighter 4.
It's always class 1 only, so pressing a button will always be good like that.
I would say actually, if offline, Brandon, but if online, probably Bravery is the scariest player. And then we also have Southeast Asia scene. We have actually one of the best Sagat, Leslie. Maybe I would say that his defense probably strongest among all of us. Actually, Gao is quite well-rounded, except the matchup with Detector. Except the Detector, and I think the worst matchup for Gao probably Detector, Ibuki, and Akuma. The rest, I think, is quite well-rounded. To play Gao in Street Fighter 5, I think bomb is not the main factor. To throw how to throw a good bomb is the most important factor for the Gao player. Sometimes people, if you play Gao, you want to play like autopilot, then because you feel the struggle that everyone will jump on you. And many Gaos that I faced before, they quit Gao because they feel that Gao is too weak. Because people can jump in, people can dash in, people can do whatever they want, and totally no respect on Gao. But I like this character because to play Gao is you don't need much on the skill, but you have to have a positive mindset. You have to adapt yourself and change it on time. When you set a strategy A and the strategy A cannot work, you have to immediately change to plan B. You have to have few backup plans to play this character. Any player can surprise us during the online tournaments. Because we won't know who will be the teleport god. Not that confident, but I will try my best. Because I feel that the players always at this level, everyone almost fight. You have to make a good decision during the game to score the win. My worst, I think I have hardest to fight is Xian, always Xian, because the character also is a problem. Then we study the players' habit very nice.
Welcome back. It's round one, the pre-game show here on Capcom Fighters. You have the Southeast Asia CPT coming up very, very shortly. We're speaking and focusing on some of the players that hopefully will be standing out during this tournament. Some of the players from the region that we wanted to shine a bit of light on. We said Xuan is probably the second best known player from the region.
He's got to be, yeah.
In terms of obviously international results as well. There's other talent that we'll get through, but as we said, it's not a lot of the players in that region that have access to the sponsorships that allow them to travel and compete.
Yeah,
a lot of Asian players will make the effort to go to Evo, just like in Europe, because it's the mecca of fighting games. It's not just as a spectacle, but just the quality of competition you can get.
So good, yeah.
Not just in tournament, but casuals
play,
just playing.
I literally used to go to Evo for the casuals.
Yeah, you're just leveling
there's
up.
There's nothing like that in Europe, like the amount. But there is these days, right? We've seen some great organisations put
with
something like
the
that.
Pro Tour, and now that the top players are travelling and they want to play.
Yep.
And now that you're famous as well for stuff other than not being able to focus attack on stage.
Bloody hell. Never lets it go, do you?
Never ever.
You know what? I want my run back, Daigo. We'll do this again someday.
One day. So Xuan, he's going to use Guile. He's been using Guile.
He's a loyal Guile player since 2016.
What do you think of Guile in this season? Because there's a lot of split opinion.
Yeah, he's Daigo's got an interesting view. He thinks Guile's top 5, right? It's kind of what he said recently, and we were having this debate with Pax, weren't we? Not too long ago, about whether Guile is a top 5 character. I think for me, I think I've had time to think about this now, and I would conclude that he isn't, just because there's so much dirt in this game. You know, there's so much revolting, almost unfair play where it's kind of like, what could I have done to stop that? Guile doesn't really do that to you so much. So for me, as strong as he is, and as much as he mitigates the risk and avoids that the chaos, you know, in Street Fighter 5 that becomes ambiguous, that you have less control. He's the best character of the game, maybe doing that. But is that enough to make him a top 5 character? Can he rob you in such a brutal way?
Yeah, I mean, Idol made a really good point that the design of Guile is anti-Street Fighter 5.
Really is, yeah.
He just takes away your ability to run riot. But, as Xuan mentioned in that interview, if you think you can just turn up and just throw sonic booms and have fun and just chuckle as you throw booms and flash kick, you will get jumped in on. You need to be using his normals as well. And every year, those command normals have got worse and worse. Thankfully,
they needed to. They needed to.
Those block strings in a spaced bazooka knee that's plus again into normal cancel with Sonic Boom that's plus again. I mean, that famous comeback with Daigo against Problem X in the corner at Red Bull Kumite, it looked like this amazing. Everything was plus. Everything was spaced out. It was.
And when he's negative, it's from a space where he hits used to hit buttons that had 0 hurtbox, stand medium kick, upside down kick in neutral, just beat him wherever you press when he was like -3 from this far.
Bad, so there's no real fear of getting thrown. Bazooka knee, so he's plus again. All of that's just been dialed down year on year on year. Now, of course, he's got the V skill too. But again, that was one of those mid-season nerfs, though, because if we were talking about start of the year Guile, definitely that dive bomb is the dive Sonic, really, really good. You saw Daigo really having a great time with that, because you can be looking for Sonic Booms at a range, and he'll just suddenly be in on you, and plus with that
when it hits
Sonic.
late, it's the worst.
Yeah, but they've turned that right down now, so it's a lot difficult. But again, it's that kind of
great V skill.
It's like minus on block, but
is it your turn?
The fake minus on block.
Is it your turn from that range? Right, it's one of those ones. Look, I think Guile's a very strong character, and I think Idol makes a really strong point. And I actually, and I got a lot of arguments in, I think it was 2018 when he was ridiculous, right? I said he was the best character in the game because he was super brain dead, and like he could press buttons in neutral, and like you'd have to be like almost a god to be able to whiff punish them because there was just no hurt box there. All of that has been toned down to the point of which, very similar to what we said with Ibuki, right? But more so, the skillful players, right, will still be very effective with Guile, right? The skillful players like the Knuckle Doos, the Chuans, the Daigos will still be extremely effective with Guile. But I do feel like looking at this game and the fact that you will get jumped on at some point, I feel like Guile needs a bit of cover. Maybe Daigo can do it, we'll see. But this is a guy who hasn't really had the results with Guile in tournament for a while. And that's no disrespect to Daigo. He's an amazing player. But it is kind of like an indication of where the character's at.
It's a big difference between seeing a guy in Battle Lounge just running through people, having a world of a time, and then delivering that in tournament when people play a different way. Let's be real.
And but that Guile is more vulnerable to that way of playing than other characters are, right? Because his whole thing is being right multiple times across the round, where your opponent just needs to be right a couple of times.
Twice, and that's it.
And that's it. You know what I mean? So for me, he's a great character. Again, he avoids the Street Fighter 5 game, which is huge, but I'm waiting to see a Chuan or a Daigo or a Do really take it to that level to convince me that character's a real contender.
Let's move on and talk about some of the lesser-known players in the region. I feel definitely are worth looking at. We did interviews with 3 of the players that are threats and also good English speakers, because there are players that I would love to highlight and have to see what they have to say, but we don't have the resources to get fully translated.
Listen, man, you gave me a Chuan interview. I haven't seen a Chuan interview for ages. That was very fun.
Brandon is another player that a number of people actually pointed out, as Shen mentioned him as well, from Singapore. He's been using Akuma for a while, very effectively. He's been entering the Versus tournaments as well, Versus community tournaments, and he's been looking very, very strong. Let's hear what Brandon has to say for himself and his chances this weekend.
Hi, Brandon. So sponsored Street Fighter 5 player from Singapore, sponsored by Scene Esports. Currently 28. Been joining the CPT for about 3 years. I went to pretty much most of the Asian tournaments. Malaysia, Australia, Japan, Taiwan. But I didn't go like to the far west side of the world. I feel that without a doubt, when it comes to the favorite player for the tournament is definitely going to be Xian. Probably the second favorite is going to be Chuan. I feel like I have an outside chance, but sort of kind of being like the underdog there, I don't really feel any pressure going into it. So it's kind of just play and see how it goes.
He has to play honest, but it's pretty close. Oh no! Maybe too far. Oh! Nice streamy right there. Go to a side switch. Just keeping up by the corner. Oh, there we go. Throw one more. We'll be able to kill it. Oh my god! Nice reactions right there. Saw Rashid coming in.
I don't think I really changed much of my preparation, whether it's an online or an offline tournament. I give all my opponents the due respect that they well deserve, and definitely try to study them a little bit. community is like really small compared to like many parts of the world. I do believe that, you know, with Xian's guidance and how he's been helping us throughout the years, we have generally improved over the years. We do have the Singtel weekly, the Versus Weekly. It was held in town where every week there will be an offline tournament. Can't wait for that to come back once, you know, the lockdown eases and stuff.
Brandon, oh, that's death. Go show you, and that's game over. And Brandon is very careful not to get hit by the B skill. He crouch counter there, goes for the EX Fireball. The Red Fireball goes for the EX. Crucial there, no cross cut from Brandon. And good use of the back heavy punch. Oh, that's death now. And Brandon takes it. 3 games to 1.
Generally, since Singapore went into lockdown, the circuit breaker, as the government called it, we literally stopped meeting up for all the offline sessions. So all of our trainings were just done online, you know, Battle Lounge, the Versus Weekly. I've been joining on an irregular basis, mainly due to work commitments. From the last 2 times that I entered, I got runner-up and I lost to Xian, and then the following week I got to the top spot. Pretty happy with that. Probably in the first month since when Season 5 got released, I felt like Akuma got bashed. He got bashed a lot with his nerfs and stuff. As I started to play more and more, and I start to realize, like, actually he isn't that bad. Like, he could be top 10. And then as time goes on, I'm like, he's still top 5, man. I don't think you can ever chop him down to, like, you know, the mid tiers in the game. I think he's still got the overall package, you know, like fast walk speed, the long range 3-frame jab. His V-trigger pretty much got nerfed all the way since Season 2. I feel that with optimal usage, you still can convincingly put people in the guess for game situation pretty often. I feel that from a Akuma player's point of view, you just got a change of how you approach attacking someone when it comes to the offense side of Akuma.
Oh, it's gonna punish that. One dash, hard grab, counter. This is going to be the round for Brandon. Yep.
In terms of the unknown underdog, there are a few, especially local ones. You'll be speaking to SKZ later. He's definitely one. He's been putting in the work with Seth. He's the one who's making me hate Seth. There was just so many aspects of the character that I think a lot of people in the world have not really seen. Probably the second player that can possibly cause an upset would be Leslie Sagat. So he has a very solid Sagat. I think he'll definitely put in the work, and he probably only wants to avoid Chuan because Sagat versus Gal is insane matchup for Sagat. We have a young and uprising kid. His name's Bravery. You know, dangerous Cammy. He has a very unique style. He won't give his opponent time to think. So he kind of gives the opponent the game where you could possibly lose in 2 minutes and just don't know what happened. So I think those are my 3 picks for the underdogs, yeah.
さあブランドにゲージがマックス。きたー。ここで夜間合脚からキャンセルの申告殺。
Can I cause an upset and beat Xian or Chuan, which are arguably the 2 favorites for the tournament? I've been doing my preparations. I feel that I could cause an upset, but I'm not really putting my hopes too high on it. It's kind of 50-50, I guess. Well, I'm like the underdog, so there's no pressure. So that kind of works in my favor.
Great to hear from Brandon. Very well spoken, talented player from Singapore, active, as he said, infrequently in versus community, but he's done pretty well. Had a good showing for himself. He made a really good point about Akuma, where this season, obviously, all the Akuma players are saying that he just got beat down. He's been hamstrung. They took his legs out from underneath him. Even Takedo said, "I can't play this character now. I have to think. I don't want to play this character anymore." Well, I think that the character's still really good, and a lot of people agree.
Top 3
still having him up there. Some people still have him there as best in the game, even with those significant nerfs. And how Takedo played in Topanga League, it's difficult to argue.
Listen, Akuma is still very much Akuma, and I think we're seeing this a lot with the Carrions and the Ibukis, but it matters more when we're talking about an Akuma because he was already so strong. So even though those nerfs happened, you're going to need to do a hell of a lot more to take this character out of that contender list for like top 1, top 2 in the game, which we don't want to see, to be honest. I don't want to see characters getting destroyed. I like the fact he's still relevant, and I like the fact Takedo can still do those amazing things. Brandon's a very talented player. He's a very natural, raw talent. I got to play him when we were at
awesome.
SCA Major, and his application to the game is very methodical, and he's got great reactions as well. I do still feel like he's not playing Street Fighter 5 enough, right? He's not being dirty enough, you know, with some of the things he'll gamble on, which is something that is easy to say about many players. But I think if he added that kind of layer to his game where it was a bit like, I'm going to do something crazy because the reward is going to be insane and you're not going to see it coming, I could see him toppling a few of the top guys in this event and maybe
I feel like that kind of mentality is difficult when you really care about your results, but you also don't have that kind of backing, knowing that I get to go to a tournament next week. You know, like someone like Takedo can wake up the XDP V-trigger activate, and if you and kill him and he's out of the tournament, he's going to a Premier next week.
He'll be back, yeah. And that's been the challenge with Brandon. If you look at his record, right, he's done pretty well when he's entered tournaments. 2018, 33rd at Southeast Asian Major, 4th in an online event, 13th at the Capcom Pro Tour online event, and bam, he got 4th. But a year goes by and he gets to enter 4 events. Oh, all of these events are in Asia. Every single event's in Asia.
Yeah,
so this guy,
as we said,
these guys are very talented, but they don't have the resources to get out there and really nurture that talent, and that's going to always be a massive hurdle.
They've got a really good community in Singapore, but it's small,
very small,
and there's not huge opportunities in terms of sponsors. They're giving good support to Sien, and he is channeling it back into the community and trying to build up, but. Yeah, as it stands, it's not the same level of sponsorship that you're seeing in Japan and Korea, even Taiwan, of multiple players able to travel. Yep. We'll see how Brandon gets on this weekend. Another player out of Singapore that we're going to be looking at is SKZ, a very talented young player who has really taken to Seth like a duck to water. Actually, Brandon lost him in a set and mentioned him as well. One of the players that he is really scared of playing. Sian mentioned him as well. SKZ, a young player picking up Seth. Let's hear what he has to say about his chances in the tournament this weekend, and of course his character choices and some of his highlights. Let's check it out.
My name is Neil, and I go by SKZ in the FGC. Started playing Street Fighter from Street Fighter 4, so back when it was released in 2009, and I've been playing fighting games ever since. Okay, so back when I started Street Fighter 5, I started with Cammy, and I played Cammy for 3 years before I switched to Colin for a brief moment of time.
Just braving in the corner. He gets the stun off of this. Very nice.
Especially I want to write off the chance of getting a comeback from 2. Nice drill. He wake up with the jab into the super. All of a sudden, the round just went really fast when it comes to comeback, right? It's 2-1 right here. Bravery.
That's a good intro jump.
Nice.
He gets the hit.
Jump like it.
SKZ needs a little bit more. Oh,
the throw.
Bravery can still turn this back. Oh, catches the back dash. Back throw.
So scary.
Both players. Oh, SKZ!
And he
with the win.
When Seth was released, I started to play Seth instead. I like to play new characters, and I played Seth in Street Fighter 4 as well. So I wanted to know how it was like to play Seth in this version. For the players that I've played so far, initially I got away with abusing a lot of his moves, you know, like the heavy spin kick, which is +2, and the medium spin kick. You can mix those two and it's really annoying to deal with, and the dive kick, which everyone has been complaining about as well. But the more I play with my friends in Singapore and around the region, I realized that they get accustomed to dealing with these tactics more and more. So initially I thought Seth could be a character that top 5, but not so much now. Definitely top 10. I have no doubt that he's definitely top 10. But since COVID, since we're in a lockdown, so we can't really go out anymore. So Sian has moved the versus weeklies to online. And we've been practicing online ever since, which is good as well because CPT will be online as well. So this will be a good training.
Almost gets super. Very dangerous situation right there. Goes into shimmy And just like this, takes down round 1. Nice gameplay there by SKZ.
In terms of the preparation in the game, I don't think there's much of a difference because we are still going to be fighting the same characters. Normally, I'll look at my bracket and I'll see who is notable inside and I will prepare more for that character. So I'll do the same for online tournaments as well. But one thing that's different would be definitely the pressure that comes with playing offline. Especially if you're playing on stream offline, it's really different. I felt that when I was playing these online tournaments, because it's from the comfort of my own home, so I didn't feel much stress as much as when I'm in a tournament that's offline. But in the game, for the characters and the matchups, mostly they're the same. Okay, in Singapore, we have Oswald, Warlock player, really strong LoRa player. We have Bells from Thailand, Mine RPG also from Thailand. They're all really good players. And when we participate in CN's weeklies, usually these are the players that we look out for. In Singapore and Southeast Asia in general, there are players that I am more comfortable with playing against, and some whom I deem really hard to fight and that I wouldn't be able to win consistently. So like for example, I'd rather be matched against Cian and Brandon as compared to Leslie, because Leslie is extremely difficult for me to beat. His playstyle counters how I like to play the game, and it every time I play against him it feels like a brick wall. So yeah, but he also has his own bad matchups. So like in C, it's very balanced. Everybody has someone who they don't want to fight against. So at the end of the day, I would think it would come down to who gets the better brackets. I would really like to see Oswald win though. I think he's really strong. Hasn't really proved himself much yet so far though, like in terms of tournaments overseas. But yeah, in my opinion, he's one of the strongest unproven players in the whole C region. So yeah, look out for Oswald.
SKZ there seems like a very lovely man, really well spoken, and some genuinely good insight not only in his play but the Singapore community as well. Everyone speaks so highly of the community. They take real pride in that. So,
absolutely, yeah.
Obviously the best known community in that area, but we are talking about Malaysia as well. Of course, we'll be looking at some of the players out of Thailand, Philippines, Indonesia, and Vietnam are in
you got to give a massive shout out to Capcom just for the and to Street Fighter historically, the way, and I don't want to take away from SKZ, we're going to get to that, but I love the fact that we're saying Vietnam and Philippines. These are places with pretty strong fighting game scenes outside of Street Fighter as well, that are now getting a little highlight. And if one of those guys makes a run this today, you know, that's going to be a massive plus for that country.
They've had really cool events that we've watched as rankings in Vietnam.
Yep.
You know, in Malaysia, in Indonesia, cool events that, and obviously we've had the pleasure of being able to go to SEA Major and commentate.
Oh, what an experience that was! Yeah,
beautiful
and Singapore's one of my favourite cities in the world. Actually, I've actually spent days in Singapore on my honeymoon before I even knew there was an FGC there. So to come back years later and enjoy like that. Yeah, great place. I highly recommend if you've not been, guys.
Let's talk about Seth a little bit.
Yes, please.
Go, run off. I'll give you 2 minutes.
It's interesting for me because, again, anything you say at this stage is premature, right? But the more I get exposed to this character, the more I play him, the more I get robbed, right? And the more like I see his options and his choices and his optimizations, the more I'm starting to feel like this guy is a real contender. And I'm not surprised SKZ is so in love with him, right? You know, because there's no one like him in the game. He is his own complete character in so many different ways. And that's going to take a lot of getting used to. So immediately, there's an edge when you bring this character to an online environment because he's so fresh, but he's also so different. It's not like you can apply knowledge from playing another Shoto to how you fight against Seth. In addition to that, his reward, his movement, his jump game, his defensive DPs as well in anti-airing, his reward for anti-airing if he gets you with the back heavy kick. Yeah. This character is a problem. I think he's a real problem. I'd love to see SKZ prove me right.
It's really interesting as well how they've translated Seth to Street Fighter V because when the character when the character was revealed at Capcom Cup, right, and there was no projectile, no command grab, we're like, this character's going to be whack.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And even when he came out, for the first few weeks, like, he's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I think he'll be like, I think the specialist will go far with him probably.
925, still low health. SKZ made some valid points in that interview about the risks, I guess, that Seth has to take because, you know, when you're on the receiving end of Seth's pressure going right, it feels horrible. Yeah. The damage conversions that Seth gets are insane. But the risk of it as well, you know, let's just talk about the block strings. Yes, Seth can steal a turn with heavy Tatsu, but, you know, if you hold up in that block string and Seth does, you know, the medium or the light, just to... The light will catch you, but the heavy, you're jumping out of the heavy, you're getting a full neutral jump punish. Yeah. Big punish. You know, tandem engine is a V-skill. Really cool.
Great neutral.
Really good.
Great neutral move.
You jump that... You slightly space it out because you can react to it and jump if it's outspaced. Massive punish as well. Yes, Seth has got a DP, but again, it's a character that's got, you know, 925 health. So you block that DP, damn, it hurts. There's a lot of risk involved with the character as well. So there's a lot of scope for things to go wrong. But I feel like, you know, the other V skill allows you to bypass neutral. The axe kick, we all know about the axe kick.
In the corner, every combo as well.
We all know about the axe kick.
Incredible
A
move.
Great V skill. Two really good V skills.
Both of his V skills are amazing.
V triggers, sorry, I meant V triggers.
Okay, both of his V skills are actually sick.
Yeah, and both the V triggers are sick as well. The V trigger one, I think, is the one to go to, just because the damage conversions are ridiculous. And again, you can steal turns with it by cancelling moves on block.
Actually, the V trigger too, I think they need to probably buff it a tiny bit because I don't.
It's funny how it's better against characters with faster V reversals than slower ones.
Slower V reversals, right? Yeah, just.
Sako's been putting incredible work in with that character, and more players are moving over. Mochi, we saw Cien say that using Seth as a secondary. So more and more players are starting to see that this character is a real threat. I feel like Seth, again, does really well against the top tiers, but it's more sort of like the mid-tier characters that stylistically...
Yeah, it's interesting being a character like that, right? Like a Cody or a Seth. I don't know if that's necessarily true at this stage because it's so early, but if it is, it's a really interesting place to be. I think Seth is easily, for me, in the top 10 at the moment. I could be proved wrong, we'll see. Does he break that top 5? Probably not, but again... I could be proved wrong because he's just got so many tools. He's such an interesting character. I can't judge it. But the fact that we got 2 or 3 Seths here this weekend being played by some of the strongest
Hopefully
characters.
We'll get some great examples of Seth play here in the top 16 coming up. Let's got one more player from Malaysia's KOF Master, a player that you might have seen before. KOF Master has definitely put in some performances again in these Asian region tournaments. Travelled to... I think Japan as well. So the Southeast Asia region, but also Japan. Using Manat mainly, but has been dabbling with Kage. Let's see what KOF Master has to say, and then we're going to round up at the end, look at some of the other players that we weren't able to speak to that are definite threats this weekend, and then make some predictions.
Hi guys, I'm KOF Master. I'm from Malaysia. Mostly the local events in Malaysia is actually they organize in Kuala Lumpur. However, because I stay in the southern part of Malaysia, it's 3 to 4 hours drive, so I rarely join, but for any major tournament, I will actually try to join it. So I do not participate actively in the local scene.
Oh, another great jump in from QF Master. Good reads here. Smoke that up. Yep.
Wow, yes!
Recently, I actually participated in an online tournament, Street Fighter 5 League. I actually play with the like of Xian actually and Brandon and all the very famous players like Chuan and so on. The places I've been traveled is only in Asia, mostly in Singapore, Thailand, Indonesia, including I think recently Japan, not long ago. My best result in CPT, I think it was back then in Bukit Cup. I got third place for it.
大きい。しかもゲージがあるってたまりそううまい。うますぎ。
V リバーサルを買い取っています。コンボを完走すれば
すごい。見事。
完璧な選択肢。V リバーサルを読み切ってのフィニッシュ。
I think the one of the biggest differences for online and offline tournament, I think, is resting time. I think resting time is very important for me because I can focus if you can rest well. So, but in an online tournament, I actually can rest well in my own very comfortable place and just be myself. However, when you're playing offline, you actually travel and those time are different. And however, online game also have this lag, so you have to play differently compared to the offline game. Actually, for this seasons, actually there's not much change for I actually main Manat. There's not much change for Manat except the V skill. The V trigger tool is a bit stronger. However, compared to a lot of characters, actually get better. Like now, the coming out this new character Seth actually is a counter to Manat. I think more or less, I think my character is a bit how do I say it? Remain the same. However, because a lot of characters got stronger, so it's a bit difficult for me this season. So actually because of this, I try to learn second character, and that is Kage. I'm still trying to maneuver around and see what I can do with him.
しかもゲージがあるので何か当たると
ダブルアウト取っている弟追撃戦最後は追撃
Actually, before this, actually use Manat. Before I use Manat, I actually main Fang. So this both character I'm using actually do not have a. It's not a shorter character. You don't have an invisibility wake up. So I actually wanted to try supplement that by using a character that has the wake up is invincibility. Yes, I've been playing with my friends recently. And because of trying my second character, I actually neglected my main character, so I actually hope I will do good. I'm not sure. Mainly are players from, first of all, my teammate Chuan, he's a very good player. And also Xian. And some players from Singapore like Leslie, them. I think one of the players that may surprise us, I think, is maybe Brandon. His Akuma is really, really good.
さあ白いヒールステップ2回ここは5番2回からステップの攻め込みを完全に止めていきました
Oh, there's plenty of them. I mean, for instance, Singapore has a lot of fantastic players, but because most of the people only know Xian from Singapore, but I actually know quite a lot of them is actually playing at a very high level. For instance, maybe Brandon, Neil, Leslie, Gamble Boxer, a lot of other players. Yeah, I think they will join and hopefully they will put up a good performance. Actually, it's very small. Actually, one of my teammates, Chuan, I think you know, and Chuan, and probably Kenny. They are the few good players.
great to hear from KOF Master. They're out of the Malaysian community alongside Chuan. Manat, where does she sit? Because I feel like she's a character that has really suffered from the nerfs and just some of the meta changes as well in the game.
That's
some
a
of
really
the
good
other
point,
characters.
yeah.
It's like the strengths of other characters have made her worse. In a similar way to the weaknesses of other characters have made Cammy better.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. It's interesting that the changes to other characters can significantly impact the strength of one character while simultaneously weakening that character a little. You thought it wasn't going to have a big impact. Also, what you do to the rest of the cast has a massive effect as well. So there's a lot of mobile characters now. There's Seth, and there's already the guys who are already mobile anyway, like Cammy and Ibuki. I do still think Minat's very strong, though. I think she's a very strong character still. She's just a double-edged sword. You know, if it's going well, it's going very well. But when it goes wrong, it's just ouch.
Yeah, I don't think she maybe she probably never was. Maybe in season 3, her first season.
What, when she had 2 V triggers around?
Yeah.
You saying maybe?
Yeah, maybe. I think maybe she was a character you could just play, only her.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
But now I definitely feel like you need cover.
There's some matchups
I think you definitely need cover. And maybe that's why KF Master's looking at Kage. To cover.
I mean, that definitely covers him, doesn't it? What do you think? You played a lot of Kage for your time?
Kage's definitely got better, and I guess just having a DP is nice. You know, if you're someone that isn't used to that. But yeah, it's an interesting pairing. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm surprised. If you're looking for cover for Manat, I'm actually surprised he's going for Kage. But then I think there's something special about Kage in a sense that everyone seems to want to have a Kage. You know? Everyone wants little pocket Kage.
Cool.
He's just cool and fun, right?
I really want him to be really good, just because he's cool.
He is a cool character. He is.
Let's look at some of the other players that are involved this weekend that are definite threats in the region. We've got a couple of players from Thailand that are really talented. That again, a regular entrance in that Versus community event. We've got Mind RPG, who is a Bison, and also Kage, in fact.
Another one.
Yeah, he's in. Well, it was funny. I was watching Versus community the other week, and the grand final was Bravery, who we'll get onto, another player from Singapore.
Bravery's one to mention.
A Cammy player. And obviously Mind RPG mains M Bison. Didn't want to play Cammy M Bison, understandably.
Yeah, makes sense.
We know it. We've seen that. Pulled out the Kage.
How did that go?
I can't remember the result. I think Bravery won. It still didn't work out.
Yeah,
in the end. I think Cammy punches up Shoto's as well.
I was going to say she doesn't really mind when she's Kage on the screen.
No, it's all good. And Jin Koyuki, who's a Urien player from Thailand. So Urien is represented. Are we going to get enough Urien in top 8?
Is that going to be consistent?
We've had I threw the stat out on Twitter before. So far in the 2 CPT events we've had, there's only been one of each character. Of every character that's been in top 8, there's only been one. Apart from Urien.
Exactly, yeah.
And there's been 4.
4.
In 2 events.
Because we had 2 in losers the first week, and we had 1 in winners.
And 1 in losers.
And now we've got a Urien champion as well. So
yeah, so Urien's definitely representing real strong. Speaking of representing strong, we have 2 really good players from Singapore that we weren't able to talk about. Oswald, who was mentioned by a couple of people in their interviews as picks to look out for. Warlord ranked Laura.
Yeah,
That's
I'm not going to pretend
I
know who this guy is, right? But I know you've done some digging. Warlord Laura hasn't placed in the top 3 for the online CPTs in the past, or has he?
I don't believe so.
Yeah, so where's he come from? Has he always been a big part
grinding,
of the scene?
yeah. I think he's a younger player, so been grinding, come through.
Fascinating.
Siem did mention earlier that it's a real achievement to be Warlord ranked as well. It's the only Warlord ranked player in Singapore, just because there's not the volume of players. To get to Warlord, you have to play a lot of games.
Man. And you have to have some crazy win rate, man, because 1 loss is just ridiculous.
So you're sitting there waiting for games to come through, and you got to win them all to get to Warlord. Even Sien said, I couldn't get to Warlord.
Yeah.
Shout out to him. And Bravery. Bravery is a real talent.
He's a real
Sien's student, a scary Cammy from Singapore. Bravery is definitely going to be one to look out for.
I'd have actually said Bravery is the guy who could maybe cause a big upset this weekend had he been anyone else's student. Had he been Daiko's student or Takedo's student or, I don't know, like Problem X's student, just someone else's student. It's just a shame his sensei.
It's going to be like one of those martial arts movies where it's like, you think I taught you everything? I didn't show you this technique. It's going to be that. It's definitely going to be that. Like, you thought you knew every mix-up. You've not seen this one. It's going to be that.
He also plays freaking Ibuki as well, which isn't a bad matchup for Cammy in my opinion, but it's definitely not a matchup where she can just run her game, right? You can kind of control Cammy if you're a good Ibuki. So
not to forget, the Philippines is out there as well. Don is a player that's been representing well in the Philippines, and I think did reasonably well last year in the region. So there's a lot of players to look out for. It's about time to wrap up because these games are about to start. You're going to get top 16 on the other side of this. I hope you found this insightful, got to learn a little bit more about the players in the region. I'm looking forward to the games. It's going to be a great weekend. Femi, you got any predictions? Pull one out of the blue. Who do you think's going to win this?
Man, that's
a real left field.
That's the tough one. I mean, look, let's just play devil's advocate and say Chuan will finish second. There's no point in predicting first place because it's kind of a given. But I'd like to see some drama. I'd like to see Shen sent to losers.
Yeah.
Hopefully he's in losers already. I don't even know what's going on.
Look, we felt this confident last weekend. We felt this confident in the first weekend.
Yeah.
First weekend in Eastern Europe and Middle East, everything went to plan.
Yeah.
Last weekend,
we're like geniuses.
Nothing went to plan.
Yeah, exactly.
So who knows what could happen?
How did we get this job?
All we know is there's going to be some fun action. It's going to be exciting, and I hope you enjoy it as well. Up next, it is CPT Southeast Asia 1 here on Capcom Fighters. Do not go anywhere. We're going to take a short break. We'll be back with that top 16 action.